Chapter 61, Become a Disciple. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wu Fan knew that he had to say something, so he said, "This disciple wants to join the Danding Peak." When the dozen or so foundation building elders heard this, they couldn't help but look at each other, and then they looked at another elder in the crowd. This old man was wearing a moon-white robe. He looked about 60 years old, with a ruddy face and gray hair. It was Elderly who took Wu Fan up the mountain. At this time, Elderly was also startled. He did not expect that this boy Wu Fan was coming to his Danding Peak, but he knew Wu Fan's spiritual constitution, so he didn't go out with those people before. Could it be that this kid knew that his physique was not good enough and thought that he could not break through to the foundation building stage, so he wanted to come to his alchemy cauldron peak to learn alchemy? Or is it that this kid recognized himself and thought he was the Qin Feng sect that brought him here, so he wanted to become his disciple? In fact, his original intention was to recruit the boy named Chen Yi, because that boy's spiritual consciousness was naturally powerful, which would be of great help in learning alchemy. But at this time, this boy Wu Fan wanted to worship him as his teacher. Besides, the sect has regulations, and the top three do have the right to choose their own masters, so he can only give up on his idea of accepting Chen Yi. Maybe this was also arranged by God. He and Wu Fan did have a master-disciple relationship. Thinking of this, he sighed, then walked out of the crowd, looked at Wu Fan and said, "I am Danding Peak Li Ning, Elderly, Mr. Wu Fan, do you still remember me? Remember, disciple, if you hadn't brought me up the mountain, I might still be immortal now." Therefore, Wu Fan will never forget this kindness. After Wu Fan finished speaking, he immediately bowed deeply to Elderly and did not get up for a long time. Elderly stared at Wu Fan for a while, and a smile gradually appeared on his face. He couldn't help but nodded slightly, and then said the words Wu Fan had been waiting for. "Wu Fan, are you willing to accept me as your teacher?" That when Wu Fan heard this, his eyes lit up. He suddenly straightened up and said excitedly, "Disciple is willing." Elderly looked at the disciple he had just accepted and sighed in his heart, "Why is this disciple just a 5-element miscellaneous spiritual root? Even with my help, it would be great for this disciple to reach the peak of Qi refining in the future. Alas, what a pity. Wu Fan, come to me." Yes, Wu Fan bowed to the master again, and then came to the master's side obediently. The other elders who wanted to accept Wu Fan could only sigh, then shook their heads and walked away. They did not dare to compete with Elderly. Elderly had a very high status in the sect. Not only was he powerful, he is a powerful monk in the middle stage of foundation building, and he is also a noble alchemy master. At this time, another person walked out of the crowd of elders. He was a middle-aged male monk. When he stood there, he looked like an unsheathed sword. His whole body was full of sword energy. He also carried a long sword behind him. Some disciples felt strange when they saw this elder. Why is this elder carrying a long sword? Why didn't he put the sword in the storage bag? These outer disciples have no idea that this elder is actually a swordsman. Swordsmanship is like physical training. In their hearts, they only have swords, and they only pursue the way of swordsmanship throughout their lives. However, the sword cultivator's attack power is extremely sharp and powerful, and he is basically invincible among cultivators of the same level. I saw this man looking directly at Chen Yi after he came out, and he spoke very simply, saying, "Chen Yi, are you coming to Hidden Sword Peak?" There were actually many other foundation building elders who wanted to take Chen Yi in, but they swallowed their words after seeing the middle-aged monk come out. Chen Yi is willing. Chen Yi quickly stepped forward and bowed to the middle-aged monk. In fact, he was very excited now. Of course he knew what Hidden Sword Peak represented. It was a place only sword cultivators could go. And he also wanted to become a sword cultivator. Then more than a dozen elders chose disciples, but the remaining elders did not choose any more, maybe because they didn't have the disciples they liked. There are about 100 foundation building monks in Qin Feng sect, and some of them are in retreat. There are still some who are not in Qin Feng sect, but of the remaining more than 70 elders, less than 30 have chosen disciples. The remaining elders have left here and returned to their respective caves, and those who have not been selected by the elders, the disciples, all looked disappointed at this time. They knew that they could only be ordinary inner disciples from now on. At this time, Elder Rui Yuan came over, glanced at everyone, and said, "You can follow me. The head brother just sent a message that he is already waiting for you at the Patriarch Hall." Then these 100 disciples followed Rui Yuan and flew into the sky, and less than 30 elders in the foundation building stage also accompanied them. The Dozhan Peak that had been lively for 7 days finally returned to its former peace after everyone left. The Patriarch Hall is set up on a mountain that towers into the clouds. Looking down from the top of the mountain, you can only see the vast sea of clouds, but there is a huge square at the top of the mountain. At this time, the 100 disciples are standing on top of it. There is a main hall in front of these disciples, and directly above the main hall there is a huge plaque with 3 large gold characters on it, Patriarch Hall. At this time, an old man of about 70 years old walked out of the hall. This old man was none other than the contemporary head of the Qingfeng sect. After seeing the old man, the foundation building elders hurried over and gave the old man a bow. The old man nodded and said, "All the foundation building elders stay outside, and the other disciples will come in with me." After the old man finished speaking, he turned around and walked back in. The 100 disciples followed him in. As soon as they entered the gate, they came to a huge hall. The hall was several hundred feet in size and more than 10 feet high. The 100 people standing inside felt very empty. There was a huge altar in front of everyone. There were many tablets on the altar, each with a black name written on it. There was also a huge bronze tripod in front of the altar. At this time, there were several half-burned incense sticks in the tripod, which were slowly emitting green smoke. There was also a huge portrait hanging above the altar. The portrait showed an old man with white hair. He was wearing a moon-white robe, holding a long sword in his hand and standing on a mountain peak, looking into the distance. The whole hall gave people a solemn feeling. At this time, the old man led everyone to the altar. He looked at everyone and said, "You can pass the competition and enter the inner gate. From now on, you are the official disciples of my Qingfeng sect. This is the ancestor hall of our sect. The founder of Qingfeng sect is Qingfeng Zhenren. It has been more than 6,000 years since the founder founded the sect. The portrait in front of you is the ancestor of our sect. The tablets below are the ancestors of our sect. It is precisely because of the protection of these ancestors that our sect can continue to this day. Now, each of you go forward and burn incense to the ancestor and the ancestors. Remember, you must report your own name while burning incense." Chapter 62 Danding Peak. You are listening at novelfull.audio. So, all the disciples, including Wu Fan, stepped forward one by one and began to kowtow to their ancestors and ancestors. When it was Wu Fan's turn to step forward, he casually pulled out a pot of incense next to the huge bronze cauldron. After lighting an incense candle and inserting it into the bronze tripod, he glanced at the solemn hall, then at the tablets on the altar table and the huge portrait of the ancestor, and then saw the solemn look on the head's face. With a sullen expression on his face, he couldn't help but tremble in his heart. Without thinking much, he immediately came to the futon, knelt down and kowtowed 3 times, and shouted at the same time, "Disciple Wu Fan." Then he got up and walked back to the crowd of disciples. 3 hours later, when all the disciples finished offering incense, the head of the Qingfeng sect took a look at everyone and said, "At this time, you have officially become the inner disciples of our sect. From now on, you must practice hard and don't let it down. The sect will train you. The world of immortality is inherently cruel. The continuation of a sect requires your growth and protection. Okay, you can go out and find your master. If you don't have a master, go to Elder Rui Yuan. He will arrange your matters. And the rewards for the top 10 disciples will be delivered to you by then." After the old man finished speaking, all the disciples bowed to him and then walked out of the hall. When Wu Fan came to his master, elderly Ning, was looking at him with a smile, and then said, "Let's go, follow me back to Danding Peak." "Yes, master." Wu Fan bowed respectfully. Elderly Ning waved his sleeve, released a flying sword, jumped onto it, looked back at Wu Fan, and said, "Come up." "Yes." Wu Fan also jumped onto the flying sword, and his master drove the flying sword straight towards Dan Cauldron Peak. After 5 years, this is the second time Wu Fan stands on this flying sword. Just like 5 years ago, the old man stood in front of the flying sword, while Wu Fan stood behind and watched from left to right. However, Wu Fan it is different from what he was 5 years ago. He is now an 8th level Qi refining monk, and he has also won the first place in the outer sect competition. Wu Fan raised his head and looked at the back of his master, but in his heart he felt like he was in another world. Half an hour later, Danding Peak arrived. Wu Fan looked at the majestic mountain peak in front, feeling the rich spiritual energy. The corners of his mouth began to slowly rise, and he showed a happy smile. He finally arrived at the long-awaited Danding Peak. It is also the place where he will practice for a long time in the future. When he looks at the beautiful mountain peaks, he sees a green color. In the mountains are cultivated medicinal fields, with huge lakes and towering trees. On the top of the mountain sit a large hall. At this time, the master was taking him to fly towards the main hall. There was a huge square in front of the hall. On the square stood a huge stone tablet with 3 huge golden characters Danding Peak written on it. There were also other signs around the square. 7 huge cauldrons were placed, the sword light fell, and Wu Fan followed his master towards the palace. When Wu Fan entered the hall, he glanced around. The hall was elegantly decorated. There were 2 rows of seats on both sides of the hall, and there were 3 seats at the front of the hall. At this time, there was a man standing in the hall. This man he must be about 30 years old. He looks, well, he has a big heart and a fat body. He has a fat belly, a fat head and big ears. When he stood there, it was as if he saw a big meatball, with that fat and big face. His face had squeezed his little eyes until there was only a gap left. When the man saw Wu Fan and the others coming in, he opened his little eyes hard, as if to open the gap wider. Unfortunately, no matter how hard he tried, those small eyes did not change at all. Then I saw him rolling towards Wu Fan, and Wu Fan with his thick short legs. Yes, that's right, it was like a meatball rolling over. At the same time, he said in a loud voice, "Master, you are finally back." This time is he the new junior brother? Elderly, who was originally in a good mood, turned pale when he saw the fat man. At the same time, he heard a cold snort. "You said that you are already at the 11th level of Qi refining and yet you are greedy for food and drink. Can't you lose weight? If this continues, you won't even be able to fly." After Li Ning finished speaking, he walked towards the 3 seats at the top without any intention of paying any attention to him. The man smiled awkwardly, but when he smiled, the slits between his eyes seemed even smaller. Wu Fan even doubted whether the man could still see. Elder Li Ning looked at Wu Fan after he sat down on the chair, and then said, "Wu Fan, from now on you will be my 6th disciple. This is your 2nd senior brother Zhu Ming." Elder Li Ning paused here, glanced at Zhu Ming, and then snorted coldly, then continued, "You also have 2 senior brothers and 2 senior sisters, but some of them are in retreat, some are refining alchemy, and some are if they are not inside the door, you will naturally see them in the future. There are 3 foundation building elders in Danding Peak. In addition to being teachers, you also have 2 uncles. One of your 2 uncles is called Yen Fun. We are refining alchemy at this time, and another elder named Su Yao is not in the sect at this time. Each of your 2 uncles has 5 or 6 disciples, so we only have about 20 people in Alchemy Peak." When Elder Li Ning said this, he glanced at Wu Fan and said, "Why don't you come over to become a disciple?" As soon as Wu Fan heard this, he hurriedly walked to his master, knelt on the ground and said, "Disciple Wu Fan, pay homage to your master." After saying this, he kowtowed to his master 3 times. Li Ning looked at the 6 disciples below him, and his expression finally softened a little. It was only because he would feel angry for no reason every time he saw his 2nd disciple, so his expression had been dark since he entered the room. "Get up. These 3 bottles of pills are a gift from your master." One of them is the top-grade Peiyuan pill, which is a pill that quickly restores mana. Another one is the Xianyuan pill, which you can take when you reach the bottleneck of the 10th level. It can effectively help you break through the bottleneck. The last bottle of pills is the Blood Qi pill, which can be taken when you are seriously injured. This is a top-grade healing pill. You can't buy these pills from your master in the market outside. Thank you, master. Wu Fan stood up and took the 3 bottles of pills. He couldn't help but feel overjoyed. These 3 bottles of pills were very precious. He had never seen them in Changyang market. He carefully put the pills into the storage bag. At this time, his master took out another jade slip and handed it to Wu Fan, saying, "This records my experience in alchemy. Take it back and study it carefully. If you can learn everything here, you can refine elixirs for the foundation establishment period. However, alchemy is very difficult. It depends on whether you have the talent. Currently, among my disciples, only your eldest brother is an alchemist. Your second, third, fourth and fifth brothers can only refine elixirs for the Qi refining period. I will make elixirs once a month. You can come and watch. How much you can learn depends on your own ability. As for the spiritual medicine garden in our Danding Peak, you cannot pick the spiritual herbs there at will. After you choose a cave, you can plant a piece of it. Medicine garden, and in the early stage of learning alchemy, your master will give you some low-level spiritual medicines to practice. When you have made some progress and can make your own medicines, you can exchange the medicines for spiritual stones and buy spiritual medicines to make medicines. However, in the early stage of learning alchemy, spiritual medicines and spiritual stones are very expensive. The spiritual medicines I gave you are not enough for you to spend. The rest depends on you. If you can make the medicines as soon as possible, you can also make money as soon as possible. If not, you will be worried in the future. Now that you are an inner disciple, you can receive 200 spiritual stones every month, and the Sutra Pavilion will also be open to you, but you can only watch the secret techniques of the Qi training period, and you also need spiritual stones and the contribution points of the sect to watch. Chapter 63 Second Brother. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Li Ning said this, glanced at his second disciple, and then said, "Xiao Fan, let your second senior brother accompany you to find a cave later. There are few disciples on our Danding Peak, so there are not many places. You can choose dozens of miles on Danding Peak to open a cave. The selected place will be under your personal management in the future. If there is nothing else, you can leave. If the master has something to see you, he will use the sound transmission sound to summon you." Disciple obeys. Wu Fan said and was about to bow and leave, but at this time, elderly Ning looked at Wu Fan and said, "Wait, Xiao Fan, what is the secret technique you used in the competition before? Where did you learn it?" This. When Wu Fan heard what his master asked, his body suddenly trembled, and at the same time, his face showed panic, and then he showed a struggle. He really didn't want to tell his secret, because it involved too many things, such as the jade slips found in the cave, and the Tianluo extreme fire. There is also the Jinyuan spiritual wood. The most important thing is that if he tells everything, the secret of the small space may be exposed, because the Jinyuan spiritual wood is currently in the small space, and it cannot be explained at all. Thinking of this, Wu Fan's face showed embarrassment, and he didn't know what to do for a while. After seeing the expression of his disciple, Li Ning understood in his heart, and then said, "Forget it, it is your own opportunity to get this secret technique. This secret technique is very precious. You must practice well in the future. You too can leave." "Thank you, master." Wu Fan bowed and saluted, and at the same time, his heart that had just been raised also fell, and he unconsciously exhaled a long breath. At this time, the second brother Zhu Ming also rolled over. He wanted to bow to the master, but after trying several times, he had to give up and could only stand and say, "Master, the disciple will also leave." After Li Ning glanced at his second disciple, his face suddenly darkened again. "Get out of here right now." Second senior brother Zhu Ming looked at Wu Fan and smiled awkwardly, then said to Wu Fan, "Sixth junior brother, let's go." In fact, Wu Fan almost laughed out loud when he first saw this second senior brother, but he forced himself to hold it back. He had never seen such a fat person. Although Master's anger was a very serious matter, Wu Fan almost couldn't control his laughter several times. Wu Fan looked at the second senior brother who was as wide horizontally and vertically as he was tall, then bowed and said, "Junior brother Wu Fan, meet you, I'm here for you, second senior brother." "You're welcome, junior brother. We'll be close brothers from now on. You can follow me to my cave later. I have a unicorn there. We can roast it and eat it. I also have 2 jars of fine wine. We can eat and chat at the same time. Isn't that wonderful? Junior brother, don't worry. Just tell me what you want to eat in the future. I'm a very good cook. I guarantee that you'll enjoy it to the fullest." Hee hee. The second senior brother rolled to Wu Fan with a big belly and said with a smile. Just then, a voice came from behind the two of them. "Get lost." When Wu Fan heard the voice, he looked back and saw that his master's face was black, his eyes were wide open, and he was holding a wooden stick in his hand, and he was running straight towards his second brother. When Wu Fan saw this, he didn't bother to reply to his second brother, and ran out of the hall. He ran far away, and he could still hear his second brother's screams from the direction of the hall. Wu Fan waited on the square for a full quarter of an hour before his second brother rolled towards him with a bruised face. But he was really brave. Even after being beaten like this, he still laughed at Wu Fan and said, "Let's go, junior brother, go to my cave. Today, we brothers will not return until we are drunk." Wu Fan took a peek in the direction of the hall, and after not finding his master, he said, "Let's go." Then the two of them stepped on the flying sword and walked away. Although the second brother's body is round, he is also a real chi refining stage 11th level cultivation, and his flying speed is still very fast. A quarter of an hour later, the two came to the second brother's cave, which was built on the mountain at the edge of the lake. According to the second brother, he built the cave on the edge of the lake to catch fish frequently. The two landed on the ground and saw a foggy area in front of them. The second brother waved his short and thick arm, and the fog in front of him dispersed, revealing a huge courtyard with beautiful scenery, but there was no house in the courtyard. There was only a big stone door on the mountain wall. The second brother took Wu Fan to the stone door, stretched out his hand to push the stone door open, and walked in. Wu Fan followed closely. The second brother's cave was built in the mountain. As soon as you enter the door, there is a hall with tables and chairs. It is 5 or 6 feet high above the head. There are many night pearls inlaid on the stone wall above, which illuminate the whole hall. There is nothing missing in this cave. It should be said that it has everything. Such as bedrooms, training rooms, and alchemy rooms, but what surprised Wu Fan the most was that there was actually a huge kitchen in this cave. This surprised Wu Fan a lot. You know, cultivators usually rarely eat. The cultivators in the Qi training stage basically rely on eating fasting pills to maintain their physical needs. At the same time, it is much more convenient for cultivation and can save a lot of time. It is said that after reaching the golden core stage, they don't need to eat anything. They can live for 700 or 800 years just by absorbing external spiritual energy. In that huge kitchen, there are more than a dozen spirit beast rooms. This spirit beast room is different from others. Second brother's spirit beast room might as well be called the food room, because the first and second level monsters here are all used for him to eat. Sixth junior brother, wait a moment. I'll go kill the unicorn and we'll have a good drink later. The second senior brother said as he rolled his fat body into the kitchen. An hour later, the two sat opposite each other, but they couldn't see each other because a shiny roasted unicorn was placed on the stone table between them. Wu Fan hadn't eaten for a long time. When he saw the roasted monster meat, he couldn't help swallowing his saliva. The smell also increased his appetite. Wu Fan couldn't wait to pull off a large piece of meat and put it in his mouth. At the moment he put it in his mouth, Wu Fan's eyes suddenly lit up. The second senior brother was really not bragging. The roasted meat was too delicious. Wu Fan had never eaten such delicious food in his life. After taking the first bite, he couldn't stop eating. Looking at the second senior brother again, his actions at this time were even more jaw-dropping. He raised both hands and stuffed the meat into his mouth with his left and right hands alternately. He didn't even chew. As soon as the meat entered his mouth, he swallowed it directly. The matter of wine or not was long forgotten by the two of them. Others drank and chatted while eating, but these two were different. The only sound of eating and chewing filled the whole hall. So as scene appeared in the hall, the two brothers did not see each other. There was no words, no wine, only harmony, wolfing down the food. Chapter 64, Opening Up the Cave. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Finally, an hour later, the two met. There was 100 kilograms of food, and the two of them had eaten nothing. Wu Fan had eaten about 10 kilograms, and the rest. Sixth junior brother, how is your craft? Second senior brother looked at Wu Fan with his narrowed eyes and asked proudly. Second senior brother's craftsmanship is indeed well deserved. Wu Fan nodded and replied. Hey, have you heard of my cooking skills? Well, junior brother, listen to your own words, senior brother. I heard that junior brother won the first place in the outer sect competition today. It's really amazing. Junior brother is also lucky and won the first place by chance. Junior brother, you are being humble. Junior brother, just rest here tonight. Will senior brother take you to find the cave tomorrow? Then I won't bother senior brother. The next day, Wu Fan and Zhu Ming searched the entire Danding Peak for half a day before they found a place that Wu Fan was satisfied with in a valley. The entire small valley was filled with the singing of birds and the fragrance of flowers. There was also a huge waterfall in the valley, below the waterfall. It is a huge pool, and the spiritual energy here is also very rich. When Wu Fan came here, he decided that he would open a cave here. At this time, the round body of the second senior brother rolled to the cliff not far from the waterfall, and then looked at Wu Fan and said, Junior brother, this is a good place, let me help you open a cave. Senior brother, I am very skilled in opening caves. Before Wu Fan could reply, the second brother had already released his flying sword and flew towards the mountain wall. Hearing the sound of boom, 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 his flying sword had penetrated into the mountain. When Wu Fan saw that his senior brother was going to help him open a cave, he hurriedly shouted, Senior brother, I don't want a kitchen. As the roar came from inside the mountain, the second brother used spells from time to time to clear out the rubble. Half a day later, the roar finally stopped. Wu Fan and the others walked in. When Wu Fan saw when he opened the cave, he couldn't help but praise in his heart. The second senior brother was really skillful in opening the cave. As soon as you enter the cave, there is a hall with bedrooms on both sides, a spiritual beast room, an alchemy room, a practice room, and a kitchen. Junior brother, how are you? How is the cave I opened, senior brother? I've probably opened the framework for you, and you need to polish the rest carefully. Thank you, senior brother. I am very satisfied with this cave. Wu Fan's eyes showed gratitude. He was also sincerely grateful. From yesterday to now, this senior brother has been very enthusiastic towards him. Since he stepped into the world of cultivating immortals, he has been sincerely grateful. Not many people were good to him. Thinking of this, Wu Fan thought of Bai Xiaowen and Zhou Yu again. He didn't know what happened to these two people. They also entered the inner sect, but unfortunately they were not accepted as disciples by the elders. Junior brother, there's nothing wrong with that. I'll go back first. You can be busy repairing the cave first. I'll bring spirit beast meat to see you in a few days. The second senior brother saw that there was nothing going on here, so he was ready to leave. Senior brother, I would like to ask, why does Master get angry when he sees you? When Wu Fan saw that his second senior brother was leaving, he finally asked what he had been holding in his heart for 2 days. Oh, don't mention it, it's because I only know how to eat all day long, which delays my cultivation, my study of alchemy, and finally eats my body like this. That's why he gets so angry when he sees me. I have long been used to it, but I can't control my mouth anymore. I made my junior brother laugh. The second senior brother told me everything in detail, and seemed very indifferent. Only then did Wu Fan realize what was going on, and he also warned himself in his heart that he would not be greedy for food and drink in the future. Next time the second senior brother asked him to eat, he would say nothing and not eat. After the second senior brother left, Wu Fan spent another 3 days carefully polishing the cave, and then arranged his mysterious sky-severing formation throughout the valley. From now on, this would be his private territory, and then he went to the valley again. He cultivated a medicinal field and planted elixir seeds. He did this just to deceive others, because there were many elixirs in his space. Wu Fan walked back to the cave, pushed open the stone door, looked at the empty hall, and then patted the storage bag. Suddenly, tables and chairs flew out from the storage bag and were placed in the hall in an orderly manner. Some luminous pearls were inlaid on the top of the cave. From then on, everything that should be found in the cave was available. Wu Fan looked at his cave, nodded with satisfaction, and then said, "Little white fox, come out." Suddenly a white light rushed out of the spirit beast bag on Wu Fan's waist, and then landed on the ground, revealing his true body, which was the little white fox. After the little white fox came out, it looked around and then ran around the cave. Wu Fan said to it with a smile, "Let's go, I will take you to your spirit beast room." 2 hours later, Wu Fan brought the little white fox into the small space. Wu Fan was eager to learn alchemy. His master had given him a jade slip before, which recorded the experience of alchemy. Wu Fan was ready to study it now. With this alchemy experience, he would go there on time to learn from it every month when the master was refining alchemy. Wu Fan has already decided that he is going to slow down his improvement of cultivation level and put learning alchemy first, at least until he can refine the elixir. Wu Fan walked into his bedroom, sat cross-legged on the bed, and then began to check out the alchemy experience. Time flies, and half a year has passed in the space. On this day, Wu Fan suddenly opened his eyes, only to see his brows furrowed, and he whispered to himself, "Who broke into my formation?" Wu Fan had already refined the mysterious sky. In the God-severing formation, if someone broke into the formation, he would be able to feel it. At this moment, Wu Fan's body was suddenly enveloped in a white light, and then he disappeared. After more than half a month in the outside world, a dazzling white light suddenly appeared in Wu Fan's cave. Then the white light disappeared, and Wu Fan's figure was revealed. He stood up and walked out. After leaving the cave, Wu Fan released his spiritual consciousness to see who it was. Entered his formation, a picture appeared in Wu Fan's mind. On the outskirts of the valley, there was a man in his 20s or 19 years old, wearing the clothes of a disciple. He was anxiously looking for a way out. At the same time, he shouted, "Junior brother Wu, I am sent by the leader, please let me in, I'm here to give you the reward for the competition." Wu Fan opened his eyes, with a smile on his face, and thought to himself, "Why did you just send me this competition reward? It's been more than half a month." Then Wu Fan waved his arm and the formation was removed by him. The man outside was shouting anxiously. At this moment, his eyes suddenly lit up. Finally, his eyes were no longer completely white. He raised his head and looked forward, only to see a 22 or 3-year-old man walking in front of him. He knew that this person should be Wu Fan, who was also the first in the outer sect competition this time, and was also the disciple of elderly Ning. "Junior brother Wu, your formation is quite powerful. If you don't let me in, I will be trapped in it forever." I'm sorry, senior brother, I was practicing just now, so I came out a little late." Wu Fan bent slightly towards the man and hugged his fists. It's okay, junior brother, I was sent by the master to give you the competition reward. My name is Cui Jiming. Cui Jiming said after returning the gift. Thank you so much, senior brother Cui. I would like to trouble you to make this trip. If senior brother is not busy, why not go to junior brother's cave and have a cup of tea? I won't go in. Senior brother, I have other things to do. I'll come back to visit you another day. After Cui Jiming finished speaking, he handed Wu Fan a storage bag. After Wu Fan took the storage bag, Cui Jiming said goodbye and left. Chapter 65 Black Gold Panlong Furnace. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wu Fan returned to the cave, looked at the storage bag in his hand, and thought to himself, I don't know what the sect will reward him for being first in the competition. I hope there are the items I need. Thinking of this, he began to check. The first thing he took out was a bottle of elixir. He picked up the bottle and sniffed it. It turned out to be a bottle of elixir for improving cultivation. Although the elixir was of a high level, Wu Fan still had a look of disappointment in his eyes. When he took out the second item, there was a hint of joy on his face. It was a high-level magic weapon, a moon-white robe. Wu Fan already liked the style of this robe. If he wore this when worn on the body, it will definitely attract a lot of attention, and this robe can also protect against dust, waterproof and fire, and it is also a defensive magic weapon. Wu Fan is quite satisfied with this robe and robe. If he wears this robe in the future, outside, wearing the golden cicada armor on the inner layer will give you more protection when fighting others. With the addition of his Hunyuan diamond shield, Wu Fan has already done a very thorough job in terms of defense. The third item was a palm-sized token. When Wu Fan saw the token, his face suddenly showed a look of joy. It turned out that the best reward was here. The token stated that he could hold this token to go. The Sutra Pavilion randomly selects a book of secret techniques. Wu Fan had inquired before that the cheapest skills and secrets in the inner sect scripture pavilion require 2,000 to 3,000 spirit stones to exchange, and some even require tens of thousands of spirit stones. Some skills and secrets can even be exchanged for you. You can't exchange spiritual stones for them. Only if you contribute to the sect can you exchange for those powerful techniques based on the value of your contribution. One can imagine how important this token is. Wu Fan had thought before that he would do more sect tasks in the future and accumulate more contribution points so that he could exchange them for those precious skills and secrets. In the long run, if Wu Fan was promoted to the foundation building stage in the future, it would not matter. Whether it is a skill or a secret skill, both need to be exchanged for contribution points. You can't wait until the foundation building stage and still use those basic spells. There is also the skill Huofenju that Wu Fan has cultivated now. This skill, however, after reaching the 12th level of the Qi refining stage and the foundation establishment stage, he must exchange for the foundation establishment stage Kung Fu. There are also many ways to earn contribution points. The sect will often release some tasks, and disciples can earn contributions by completing tasks. Worth it. Wu Fan heard from his second senior brother that alchemy peak disciples basically get their contribution points by refining elixirs for the sect. The sect only rewards these 3 items. After checking them all, Wu Fan put on the white robe of the moon, and then put the elixir token into his storage bag. He has not yet gone to the Sutra Pavilion. Plan. The most important thing now is to learn alchemy first. Thinking of this, Wu Fan stood up and walked out. After leaving the cave, he patted his storage bag, released his wind sword, and flew towards the sky with his flying sword. Wu Fan is going to Xianxia city to buy an alchemy furnace, and he has already studied the first half of the alchemy experience. Then he will go to watch the master make alchemy, master some alchemy skills, and then try to make alchemy by himself. Well, in a few days it will be the day when the master will start the alchemy furnace, so it is better to buy the alchemy furnace as soon as possible. The Gale sword was indeed very fast. It arrived in Xianxia city in 3 hours. Wu Fan went directly to an attic and walked in with his legs up. Sir, may I ask what magic weapon you need to buy? A waiter saw a guest coming in and hurriedly greeted him. I want to see your shopkeeper. Wu Fan directly explained his purpose without any ink. The young man saw that this middle-aged man was an 8th-level Qi refining monk and should be here to buy a high-level magic weapon. He did not dare to neglect and immediately replied, wait a moment, I will call the shopkeeper to come out. Wu Fan is very familiar with this refining building. He bought his fiery yang sword, Xianin needle, Yinwu boat, etc. from this shop. In the entire Changjiangfang city, this shop is basically the largest. It is said that there is a shadow of a big sect behind this shop, but I don't know whether it is true or not. After a while, the shopkeeper came out. Wu Fan looked at the old man. He was still at the 10th level of qi refining, the same as a few years ago. It was just that compared to 5 years ago, he was indeed much older. But this time it's also a matter of method. Even a cultivator will slowly grow old over time before he reaches the foundation building stage, and will eventually turn into dust after 100 years. What does this fellow Taoist want from me? Do you need to buy any magic weapon? The old man cupped his hands when he saw Wu Fan. Shopkeeper, I want a higher grade alchemy furnace. The higher the better. Wu Fan returned the gift and said straight to the point. When the old man heard this, his eyes lit up, and then he looked at Wu Fan carefully and thought to himself, is this middle-aged man an alchemist? But why have I never heard of such a famous person? If this person has just started to learn alchemy, there is no need to buy a high-end alchemy furnace. You can just buy any one to practice. You must know that the alchemy furnace is different from other magic weapons. The alchemy furnace is equivalent to the formation, and they are relatively expensive. With his 8th level qi refining level, how many spiritual stones can he have? Thinking of this, he asked tentatively, fellow Taoist, I do have a good alchemy furnace, but... Don't worry, shopkeeper, as long as I'm satisfied, you don't have to worry about the price. Wu Fan replied non-committally. When the old man heard Wu Fan's answer, he felt confident, and then said, okay, fellow Taoist, please follow me to the 2nd floor. So Wu Fan and the old man came to a room on the 2nd floor, and this room was exactly where Wu Fan was when he first arrived. Fellow Taoist, please wait a moment. I asked the man to get the alchemy furnace. He will be back later. The old man poured a cup of tea for Wu Fan and then said, no rush. Wu Fan walked to a chair and sat down, drank tea, and chatted with the old man from time to time. It didn't take long, only half a cup of tea, and the boy left holding a wooden box. He came back and placed it carefully on the table, and then backed out. The shopkeeper opened the lid, revealing a red alchemy furnace inside. The design of this alchemy furnace was very beautiful, with several dragon-shaped patterns carved on it. One could faintly feel that this alchemy furnace released some fire attributes. Reiki. Fellow Taoist, what do you think of this alchemy furnace? This is a top-quality magic weapon, the black gold Panlong furnace. This is a rare alchemy furnace. It is below the level of a spiritual weapon. This elixir is the furnace is also relatively high, and this alchemy furnace also has an exciting ability for alchemists, that is, it has the effect of increasing the rate of elixir formation, but the price. The shopkeeper, please tell me the price. After Wu Fan listened to the shopkeeper's introduction to this elixir furnace, he knew that this elixir furnace could not be cheap, but it was indeed a rare and high-quality elixir furnace. If nothing else, he knew that this elixir furnace could not be cheap. It is a top-quality magic weapon, so you already know how precious it is. You must know that Wu Fan only has one top-quality magic weapon, which is the Hunyuan Diamond Shield. When Wu Fan heard that this pill furnace had improved after realizing the effect of the elixir, he decided that he had to buy this elixir furnace. Chapter 66 Wanbao Tower. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man kept watching the expression on Wu Fan's face, and he also saw that this middle-aged man was more interested in the alchemy furnace. He only heard him say, this black gold Panlong furnace is worth 80,000 spiritual stones. For sale. When Wu Fan heard the old man's quotation, he was startled. He did not expect that this alchemy furnace would be so expensive. You must know that it is also a top-quality magic weapon. The Hunyuan Diamond Shield only sells for 20,000 spiritual stones, but this alchemy furnace is 80,000 spiritual stones are required. The most embarrassing thing is that Wu Fan doesn't have so many spirit stones on his body, and there are less than 50,000 spirit stones in his storage bag. Before he came, he thought that these spirit stones would be enough, but he didn't expect it. But the alchemy furnace magic weapon is much more expensive than other types of magic weapons. Since Wu Fan entered the world of cultivating immortals, he has come to Changjiangfang City twice to sell elixirs. The first time he sold them was 470,000 yuan, and of the 470,000 yuan, 450,000 yuan was spent on this old man. Everything on his body was replaced by magical weapons and formations by Wu Fan. The second time he sold the elixir, he sold a total of about 300,000 yuan. After he came back, he decided not to sell it again. At that time, he realized the danger when selling the elixir. Since then, he has never sold the elixir again. Even after he mastered the heavenly ghost chi condensation technique and the 1,000 illusion bone shrinking technique, he never sold them once. He also sold monster materials once, for a total of more than 30,000 spirit stones. Wu Fan seems to have a lot of spiritual stones, but the amount of spiritual stones he has consumed over the years is even more staggering. Take the pills he bought in the past few years, which is a large amount of spiritual stones, and the mysterious god-breaking formation as well. For those who needed spiritual stones to function, he also bought the Gale sword, golden cicada armor, etc. Thinking of this, Wu Fan's face showed a look of embarrassment unconsciously. As soon as the shopkeeper saw Wu Fan's face, his expression darkened immediately. At the same time, his powerful aura from the 10th level of Qi refining was released and pressed towards Wu Fan. After Wu Fan felt the aura released by the old man, he knew that the old man was on the verge of explosion, and immediately said, "Shopkeeper, don't get angry yet. I really don't have enough spirit stones. I still have 30,000 spirit stones. I didn't expect it at the time. This alchemy furnace is so expensive. If the shopkeeper believes me, then please wait for me for 2 hours. I will come back and buy this alchemy furnace in 2 hours. What do you think, shopkeeper?" "Humph, fellow Taoist, are you trying to trick me? Do you really think I will believe it?" the shopkeeper said with an ugly expression. "Otherwise, I will give you 30,000 spirit stones first, which will be regarded as a deposit. If I don't come back in 2 hours, you don't have to return the spirit stones. Does the shopkeeper think this is okay?" Wu Fan said quickly. When the shopkeeper heard this, his expression slowly softened. He was not an unreasonable person. Now it seemed that this person really wanted to buy his alchemy furnace sincerely. Since fellow Taoist has said this, then fellow Taoist must not be fooling me. Fellow Taoist doesn't need to say anything for 2 hours. As long as fellow Taoist can bring another 50,000 spiritual stones today, my alchemy furnace will definitely keep it for fellow Taoist. Or you can exchange it for a pill furnace. I also have other cheap pill furnaces. Thank you very much, shopkeeper. I have decided to buy this alchemy furnace. Wu Fan stood up and gave the old man a slight gift, then threw down a storage bag and walked out of the room. When Wu Fan walked out of the shop, he sighed softly. He didn't expect that the alchemy furnace was so expensive, but since he decided to buy it, he could only sell a few more millennium elixirs. Thinking of this, Wu Fan hurriedly walking forward. A quarter of an hour later, he came to the door of an attic. There was a plaque hanging above the door with the 3 characters Wanbao Tower written on it. Wu Fan raised his legs and walked in. Wu Fan had been to this shop several times before. Last time, he felt that the price offered by this shop was quite fair, so this time he came directly to the Wanbao building. With his appearance changing, Wu Fan was not too worried that the shopkeeper had any ill intentions towards him. "My guest, what do you want to buy?" A boy came up to meet him. Seeing Wu Fan's 8th level of Qi refining, he didn't dare to neglect him. "I want to sell some elixirs, and I need to see your shopkeeper." Wu Fan directly explained the purpose of his visit. He had no time to talk to this young man. The boy couldn't help but be startled when he heard this, and then asked tentatively, "I don't know about this magical medicine. It's very valuable, you can't make the decision." Wu Fan said impatiently. He had been here several times and knew what the boy was thinking. "Okay, the boy will take you to see our shopkeeper now. Come upstairs with me." After saying that, the boy walked upstairs. and Wu Fan followed closely behind. An hour later, Wu Fan walked out of the Wanbao building, and at the same time there were 500,000 spiritual stones in his storage bag. At the same time that Wu Fan came downstairs, in a room on the second floor of Wanbao building, an old man was explaining something to a boy. Go quickly and tell brothers Zhou Qi and Zhou Wei that they must follow this person and never lose him. When this person leaves Changjiangfang City, I don't care what methods the two brothers use. They must learn from this person's mouth. Tell me where you got this 1,000-year-old elixir. Yes, the boy agreed and hurried out, but the old man looked suspicious and whispered to himself, after 4 years, someone finally came to sell 1,000-year spiritual medicine again. Although the person who came this time was different from the last time, they must be in the same group. Now even 100-year spiritual medicine is rare in the world of cultivation. How could it be possible that people get 1,000-year spiritual medicine one after another, and each time it is a newly unearthed 1,000-year spiritual medicine? How can there be such a coincidence in this world? Humph, this time I must ask this person where they got the 1,000-year spiritual medicine from. If this matter is not settled, I can't report it to the higher-ups. Wu Fan didn't know that someone had bad intentions towards him at this time. At this time, he was on his way to the refining pavilion, a quarter of an hour later. Fellow Daoist is indeed a trustworthy person. I didn't expect that fellow Daoist really gathered the spiritual stones within 2 hours. In this case, this black gold Panlong furnace belongs to fellow Daoist. The shopkeeper saw that Wu Fan really brought him the remaining spiritual stones, and his face showed joy. Since I promised the shopkeeper, I will definitely do it. Besides, I really want to buy this furnace. Wu Fan said happily while holding his furnace. Dao Yu is a straightforward person. I have made friends with you. If you need anything in the future, just come to me. I will definitely give you a discount. The shopkeeper was holding a bag of spirit stones in his hand and was also very happy. If I need anything in the future, I will come to the shopkeeper first. I have finished my business and will leave now. After Wu Fan finished speaking, he bowed to the old man and then walked out. Dao Yu, take care. After Wu Fan left the refining pavilion, he released the Gale sword and flew straight to the outside of Changyang Market. However, Wu Fan did not know that there were two people following him behind him. Chapter 67, Attacked on the Road. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the sky more than 50 miles away from Changyang Market, two people were flying on swords. One of them said, "Brother, this is all right. Let's finish the task as soon as possible. I'm afraid that if it takes too long, his accomplices will come to help him. This kid is only at the 8th level of Qi refining. If you and I attack at the same time, we can catch him in a moment. Then we can find a safe place and force him to tell us where the 1,000-year-old elixir came from. No, let's wait a little longer. This place is too close to Changyang Market. If a foundation building cultivator senses it, it will be troublesome." Another person rejected it. 2 hours later, at this time, Wu Fan was leisurely flying on his sword to Qingfeng Gate. At this time, he was still holding the alchemy furnace in his hand and looking at it non-stop, with a happy look on his face. In the future, using this black gold Panlong furnace to refine the elixir will definitely be twice the result with half the effort. I didn't expect to buy such a good alchemy furnace this time. Wu Fan was mumbling to himself happily. At this moment, he suddenly felt a spiritual power fluctuation. He raised his head and looked straight ahead. At this moment, the air in front of him suddenly twisted, and then two people appeared. These two people were holding two talismans in their hands. Obviously, they used talismans to hide their bodies. Wu Fan narrowed his eyes. He is no longer the simple-minded person he used to be. After being robbed last time, Wu Fan also knew the cruelty in the world of immortal cultivation. Wu Fan narrowed his eyes and looked at the two people in front of him. The two people were of similar age, in their early 30s, and looked about 70% similar. However, what surprised Wu Fan was that these two people they both have the 11th level of Qi refining. This is the same level as Wu Fan's second senior brother, and Wu Fan knows how powerful his second senior brother is. Let alone the 11th level of Qi refining cultivators, just in the outer sect competition some time ago, Wu Fan couldn't even beat Chen Yi, a 9th level Qi refining cultivator, without using the Golden Yuan Chongguang. However, when Wu Fan saw these two people, there was only some surprise in his eyes, but he didn't feel scared. It was because he was different now. At this time, one of the two said, "Boy, we have limited time. If you can take the initiative to go with us, we may let you go after the matter is done, and even give you some benefits. If you don't take the initiative to go with us, don't blame us too for taking action against you. It will be the same if we catch you and go with us." When Wu Fan heard what the other party said, he knew that the two people came with bad intentions. At the same time, he also guessed why they came. In the past few years, he has been unwilling to continue selling the 1,000-year-old elixir because he was afraid that this kind of thing would happen. However, since this has happened today, there is only one way to fight. Thinking of this, Wu Fan asked, "Where do you two Taoist friends want to take me? What do you want to find me for?" "Humph, you don't have to worry about this, you just need to go with us." The man snorted and continued. "What if I don't go with you?" Wu Fan's face also turned cold. "Brother, why waste time talking to this kid, just arrest him and take him away." The other person urged impatiently at this time. The man who spoke before Duet stopped talking nonsense and shouted directly to his brother. The man called the eldest brother slapped his storage bag and suddenly released a huge black net, and there was a layer of dark light on the black net, and it went straight to Wu Fan. The other person released a flying sword to Wu Fan, but this flying sword was not going to Wu Fan's vitals. It should be to save his life and block Wu Fan's retreat. These two people often cooperate, but they are very tacit. Wu Fan saw that these two people were so fierce when they attacked, and he stood still instead. As if he had surrendered, Wu Fan put his hands behind his back, looked at the black net in front of him, and then looked at the flying sword behind him. With a slight smile on his face, Wu Fan's move startled the other two. Did this kid regret it? Now he wants to go with them. However, the two did not stop attacking. Just when the two magic weapons were about to reach Wu Fan's body trembled slightly, and suddenly a light golden light emerged from his body. As the light spread, a shocking scene appeared. The black net and the flying sword suddenly stopped moving forward and began to tremble violently, as if falling from the sky. When the two saw this scene, they were suddenly stunned. What was going on? What was the golden light on this kid? They were surprised. Before they could think about it, they quickly made hand gestures and tried to control the two magic weapons to stop falling. They continued to control the two magic weapons to fly towards Wu Fan, but the speed was too slow. When Wu Fan saw this scene, he was also stunned. He didn't expect that the other party could actually control the magic weapon from falling and fly towards him. He was worthy of being a cultivator of the 11th level of Qi refining. Thinking back to the outer sect competition, Chen Wenyi's flying sword touched the golden Yuan Chongguang. It didn't stop at all and fell directly to the ground. This also shows how big the difference is between a high-level Qi refining cultivator and a top-level Qi refining cultivator. Wu Fan saw the two magic weapons flying slowly towards him, but he smiled. He looked at the other two and found that their faces were flushed and sweat was slowly oozing out of their heads. It was obviously caused by the two people trying hard to control the magic weapons. It's a pity that Wu Fan's current golden Yuan Chongguang can only spread out 10 feet, and it won't work if it's too far away. The other two were 10 feet away and were not affected by the golden Yuan Chongguang at all. When the two magic weapons were about to reach Wu Fan finally moved for the first time. He flew away from the area with his flying sword and rushed towards the two people. Wu Fan wanted to cover the two people in the golden light. But the two people obviously found the strangeness of the golden light and directly controlled the flying sword to escape. Wu Fan saw that he could not catch up with the two people, so he did not panic. He patted his storage bag and released a white boat. The boat grew in the wind and finally became 3 feet in size. Wu Fan jumped and jumped directly on it. Then he drove the flying boat towards the 2 people at a very fast speed, as fast as lightning. When the 2 people saw Wu Fan release the flying boat, they knew that something was wrong. They could see that the flying boat was definitely not as simple as a magic weapon. This is indeed the case. Wu Fan's cloud boat is a genuine spiritual weapon. Wu Fan was getting closer and closer to the 2 men. No matter how fast the other 2 flew, the distance between Wu Fan and the 2 men was also closing rapidly. In just a dozen breaths, Wu Fan had already arrived in front of the 2 men and enveloped them in the golden yuan heavy light. The moment the 2 men entered the golden yuan heavy light, their bodies suddenly paused and then stopped flying. They could only barely control themselves from falling from the air. Wu Fan was quite surprised when he saw that the 2 men could still stand in the air. You know, Hao Yu was a famous body cultivator at the beginning. When he entered the heavy light, he knelt directly on the ground, and Chen Yi was even worse. He lay directly on the ground, but the 2 men could still control the flying sword to stay in the air, which showed their strong strength. Wu Fan stood on the cloud boat, looked down at the 2 men, and then smiled and said, "Why don't you run? Tell me, why did you come? Who sent you?" Chapter 68 Killing the Enemy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The 2 of them looked very unhappy at this time, but there was obviously some panic in their eyes. When Wu Fan asked them questions, they did not answer. They knew that they had failed to catch him this time. They did not expect that the other party was so powerful at the 8th level of Qi refining. What was more terrifying was the golden light released by the other party. They had never seen such a terrible magical power. Now they had no other ideas, not to mention the idea of catching Wu Fan. It would be a blessing if they could escape at this time. The man called the eldest brother turned his eyes at this time, and then shouted to the people around him, "Second brother, let's fly down." When the second brother heard the eldest brother's shouting, he felt that it made sense. He did not answer, and directly fell down with the gravity of the golden light. At the same time, his eldest brother was also falling down at a high speed. Soon, the 2 of them left the range of the golden light. Wu Fan saw the 2 men flying down at high speed, so he was not in a hurry. He also drove the flying boat to chase them. Not long after, the 3 of them landed on the ground at the same time. Wu Fan looked at the 2 men opposite with a smile on his face, while the 2 men looked desperate because they were covered by the golden light of the other party again. "Keep running," Wu Fan said with a playful look in his eyes. "My fellow Taoist, my 2 brothers also recognized the wrong person before and mistakenly thought you were the person we wanted to arrest. Please don't be surprised." The man called the eldest brother turned his eyes, suddenly bowed to Wu Fan, and said sincerely, Yes, we did recognize the wrong person before, and I am really sorry for you, brother." When the second brother heard what the eldest brother said, he also hurriedly echoed, "Oh, really, there are still people in the world who look so similar to me? Do you really think I am a fool?" The smile on Wu Fan's face gradually disappeared, and then it was replaced by coldness. Wu Fan was really angry. The 2 of them didn't want to tell him their origins at this time, so he could only teach them a lesson. Wu Fan suddenly slapped his storage bag, and the Liang sword flew out and stopped in front of the man called Big Brother. When the man called Big Brother saw the other party release the flying sword, he knew that the other party was angry, but he couldn't run away at this time, so he could only continue to say, "What do you want, fellow Taoist?" "What do I want? Humph, you are from Wanbao, right?" Wu Fan snorted coldly. In fact, when Wu Fan saw these 2 people, he had guessed that they must be related to Wanbao. There was no other reason, because Wu Fan had only been to this store to sell 1,000-year-old elixirs today. When the 2 heard that Wu Fan already knew the truth, their hearts suddenly tightened and their faces became nervous. Then the man who called the eldest brother suddenly shouted loudly, "Second brother, do it." The 2 men released 2 flying swords at the same time and flew towards Wu Fan, but the speed of the flying was too slow, and they were shaking and shaking during the flight, obviously struggling. when Wu Fan saw the other party release the flying sword, he was unmoved and had no intention of dodging. Just when the flying sword was about to hit him, Wu Fan suddenly opened his mouth and spit out a golden fireball from his mouth. The fireball was the size of a fist, and there was obviously a little purple inside. After the golden fireball flew out of Wu Fan's mouth, it went straight to the two flying swords and collided with each other in an instant. Only two whoosh, whoosh sounds were heard, and the two flying swords were melting at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than a breath, the two flying swords had turned into molten iron. When the other two saw this scene, they were stunned, and then they were replaced by fear. They had never seen such a horrible thing. How powerful must this fireball be to melt two high-level magic weapons and flying swords into molten iron? With the power of this fireball, who can stop it below the foundation building stage? What kind of strange fire is this? This kid is only at the 8th level of chi refining, why is he covered with powerful treasures? Just after the fireball turned the two flying swords into molten iron, the fireball flew towards the man called Big Brother at a very fast speed. Its speed was like a gust of wind and lightning. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of him and burned him to ashes in less than a breath. He left this world without even a scream. Not to mention that the man called Big Brother was in Chongguang at this time. Even if Wu Fan received Jinyuan Chongguang, with the speed of the fireball, he could catch up with him in an instant and turn him into ashes. The man called the second brother turned pale when he saw his eldest brother being burned to ashes in an instant. He knew that he had hit a wall today. If he had a chance to start over, he would stay away from this evil star without hesitation and would never want to see him again. Unfortunately, there is no regret medicine in the world, and the two brothers can only pay for their actions. The second brother was so frightened that he trembled all over. He no longer had the strength to fight against the golden light. His legs knelt down involuntarily, and his face became distorted due to fear. He didn't want to die yet. He was so young and had cultivated to the 11th level of chi refining. He had a good chance to be promoted to the foundation building stage in this life. When he reached the foundation building stage, he would have 300 years to live. Thinking of this, the second brother burst into tears and begged for mercy. Dao Yu, spare my life, Dao Yu, spare my life. I said, I will say anything, just ask you to let me go, I don't want to die yet. The fireball stopped 10 feet away from him at this time, and the high temperature released by the fireball made him have difficulty breathing and sweat all over his face. Wu Fan's eyes flashed with a gleam of light, and he said coldly, if you hide anything, you will be the same as your eldest brother. Young man, you can talk about anything. The thing is like this, after Taoist friend came to my Wanbao tower today, our shopkeeper. A quarter of an hour later. That's what happened. It's just that my Wanbao building was opened by a senior in the foundation building stage. Our real building owner is an amazing being. Although he is a casual cultivator, he is very powerful. He is powerful. He calls himself Old Red Devil and usually hides behind the scenes. This time, the two of us will chase and intercept fellow Taoists. This is all what this senior has explained in advance. He said 4 years ago that if someone is there, if you come to my Wanbao tower to sell the 1,000-year-old elixir, you must. This is called the second brother, I won't talk about it here. When Wu Fan heard this, he also understood the ins and outs of the matter. It turned out that there was a shadow of a foundation establishment monk behind this. However, with his current cultivation level, he was still unable to fight against the foundation establishment monk, but he remembered this grudge. When Wu Fan thought of this, a fierce look suddenly appeared on his face, and he immediately controlled the golden fireball to burn the second brother to ashes. When Wu Fan deliberately controlled the golden fireball, he kept the storage bags of the two people. When Wu Fan waved his hand, the two storage bags flew into his hands with a whoosh. But he didn't even look at it, and threw it directly into his storage bag. Then he waved his hand, and the golden fireball flew straight towards him very intelligently and landed in his hand. Chapter 69 Fifth Senior Sister. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wu Fan looked at the fireball in his hand and whispered to himself, I didn't expect that the Tianluo Jihua was so powerful, and the flying sword, a top-grade magical weapon, instantly turned into nothing in front of it. This is really a big killer weapon. He glanced at Tianluo Jihua a few more times, then opened his mouth and swallowed Tianluo Jihua directly into his mouth. Then he put away the black net magic weapon, and then drove the flying sword towards the Qingfeng gate. Fly away. 2 hours later, in Wu Fan's cave, he was currently looking at 2 storage bags. There were more than 10,000 spirit stones in these 2 storage bags. Although these spirit stones were nothing to Wu Fan, they were nothing to other top-level qi refiners. For a monk, this is a lot of wealth. There are still some talismans and elixirs in the storage bag. Wu Fan is quite satisfied with a few bottles of elixirs. The rest are just some miscellaneous useless things. Wu Fan put away the storage bag, and then sat there quietly, thinking to himself that in the future, it is impossible to sell the 1,000-year-old elixir unless necessary. Through this incident, Wu Fan also understood the principle of not revealing wealth, and he decided not to ripen the 1,000-year elixir unless necessary. With his current cultivation level, he would not be able to use the 1,000-year elixir to make elixirs. He might as well use the well water to ripen some more decades-old elixir. It can also be used by Wu Fan to make alchemy. Next, Wu Fan is going to learn alchemy. Now he has an alchemy furnace, and it is also a top-quality magic weapon. He has no shortage of elixirs. There are many small spaces. He has also understood the alchemy experience given by his master. Most of the time, the main thing now is to watch his master make alchemy and practice it. 3 days later, a talisman suddenly flew outside Wu Fan's cave and entered the mysterious god-breaking formation. Wu Fan walked out of the cave and waved his arm, and the talisman flew into his hand in an instant, and then he squeezed it with his palm. The talisman shattered in response, and then a voice came into Wu Fan's ears, "Today I will open the furnace to make elixirs for my master." When Wu Fan heard this, he immediately felt happy. After telling the little white fox that he was optimistic about the cave, he flew away with his flying sword. A quarter of an hour later, this time Wu Fan flew not to the peak hall, but to a valley. This valley was larger than where Wu Fan's cave was. There were 5 or 6 spiritual medicine gardens alone, and they were all rare. There are still some disciples working in the elixir garden at this time. Wu Fan knows that these are outer disciples. They have also accepted the task of taking care of the medicine garden. I think Senior Brother Wang from the Outer Sect Affairs office also worked with Wu Fan mentioned it, but Wu Fan did not choose this task, but chose to go out to find the elixir. Wu Fan had no intention of talking to these people, and walked directly past them and walked deeper. "Hey, look, isn't that Senior Brother Wu who passed by just now?" "It's indeed Senior Brother Wu. I saw it. Senior Brother Wu is really amazing. Not only did he win the first place in the competition, he also had Elderly as his teacher. It's really enviable. Senior Brother Wu is really capable. I also went to the competition, but I was eliminated in the first round. Alas. I really envy these disciples who have a master. They have many cultivation resources, good caves, and master's guidance. Look, isn't Senior Brother Wu coming to the master to learn alchemy? What's the use of being envious? We still have to work hard, do more tasks to earn spiritual stones, and buy elixirs to improve our cultivation. We will still have a chance in 5 years. Anyway, I am only 22 years old this year. Stop chatting and get to work." After Wu Fan passed through the medicine garden, a courtyard appeared in front of him. This courtyard covered an area of 10 acres. There was a house in the courtyard. The building was not very luxurious, but it looked very comfortable. It looked like a mortal farmyard. It seemed that when Wu Fan walked closer, he saw a big meat ball outside the courtyard door. He took a closer look and saw that it was the second senior brother. Then he shouted, "Second senior brother, why are you outside the door? Are you there? Are you waiting for me, junior brother?" As soon as the big meat ball heard Wu Fan's shout, he turned around, and then said dejectedly, "It turns out to be the sixth junior brother." "Senior brother, I must be waiting for you. Why do you still call it all right?" Why did the second senior brother say this? Wu Fan was a little confused when he heard the second senior brother's words. "It's not because your fifth senior sister left seclusion, she is in the house now." The second senior brother sighed. Wu Fan was even more startled when he heard this, fifth senior sister. Wu Fan knew that he had 3 senior brothers and 2 senior sisters, but why could these fifth senior sisters make the second senior brother look like this? "Why didn't you go in when fifth senior sister was in the house?" "Sixth junior brother, you will know later." The big meatball shook his body and sighed. Hearing what the second senior brother said, Wu Fan was even more confused. Then he stopped thinking about it and quickly went to see his master making alchemy. Thinking of this, Wu Fan walked into the courtyard with his legs up, and the second senior brother followed closely. Followed by others. As soon as Wu Fan walked into the house, before he saw fifth senior sister, he heard her voice. Why is that damn fat guy missing? I saw him just now." "Ha, damn fat guy, how dare you hide from me? Just wait for me, don't let me see you again." Wu Fan was stunned when he heard this. What is going on? Why did the second senior brother offend the fifth senior sister? When the second senior brother heard this voice, he was even more frightened. As soon as they entered the house, there was a hall. They walked deeper into the hall and came to the alchemy room. When Wu Fan and others came to the door of the alchemy room, they finally saw the fifth senior sister who made the second senior brother fearful. The fifth senior sister is similar in age to Wu Fan, but she has the 10th level of Qi refining. She is pretty and cute, with a round face, big eyes that flicker with a hint of brilliance, and a delicate little face. The mouth may be angry at this time, but the small mouth is pouted, and there are a pair of dimples on both sides of the small mouth. Because of this pair of dimples, the fifth senior sister is made even more cute. She was beautiful, she was wearing a hot red dress, and she was looking ahead with her hands on her waist. When she saw the second senior brother, her eyes lit up, she raised her legs and ran towards the second senior brother. When she got close, she directly grabbed the second senior brother's ears with her little snow-white hands, and at the same time shouted loudly, "Damn you, fat man! Where did you go? What do you mean by hiding from me? Do you believe that I went to your cave and burned the spiritual beast you raised? Do you believe that I went to Master to say bad things about you? Dare to hide from me?" The fifth senior sister was full of witty words and kept talking, but Wu Fan was dumbfounded. Isn't this fifth senior sister too fierce? No wonder the second senior brother is so afraid of the fifth senior sister. She is simply a female devil. What should I do now? Do I need to help the second senior brother? Wu Fan's mind was racing, and after thinking about it, he decided, otherwise, let's forget it, and let the second senior brother wish himself well. This scene scared Wu Fan so much that he took a step back. And why did he talk about helping the second senior brother? Fortunately, the second senior brother's body was huge and blocked Wu Fan tightly. The fifth senior sister has not seen him yet. Chapter 70, Learning to Make Elixirs. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Junior sister, be gentle, your ears are about to fall off. The sixth junior brother is right next to you. Can you save some face for senior brother? The second senior brother couldn't bear it anymore and finally shouted out. Sixth junior brother. Where are you? She saw the fifth senior sister fly up and kick the second senior brother away, and then she saw Wu Fan himself. When Wu Fan saw such a big meatball, he kicked it away. This fifth senior sister really used the magic power in her body. Or should we say that this fifth senior sister was a body cultivator? Are you my sixth junior brother? The fifth senior sister's eyes showed curiosity, and her big eyes stared at Wu Fan without blinking. Wu Fan, I have met the fifth senior sister. Wu Fan quickly clasped his fists and bowed, saluting the fifth senior sister. I am finally not the youngest in the ranking. I also have a junior brother now, which is great. Sixth junior brother, if you have any problems in the future, just come to 5th senior sister. With senior sister here, no disciple in Danding Peak will dare to bully you. It can be seen that the 5th senior sister is indeed very happy, and a hint of joy can be clearly seen in her eyes. Then junior brother, I would like to thank senior sister. Wu Fan bowed again. 6th junior brother, are you here to learn alchemy from master? 5th senior sister asked seriously. She obviously didn't feel that what she said was nonsense. Yes, junior brother, today is my first day to see master make alchemy. I don't know if master has started yet. Wu Fan actually wanted to enlighten the 5th senior sister. His real intention was that he didn't want to waste time and was afraid of delaying watching master make alchemy. Oh, master hasn't started yet. He has been waiting for you too. By the way, 6th junior brother, I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is Ru Shui. 5th senior sister winked at Wu Fan. At this time, the 2nd senior brother rolled over and said, let's go in quickly. Master will be angry in a while. Humph, damn fat man, I will spare you today for the sake of my junior brother. The 5th senior sister directly changed the 6th junior brother into a junior brother. Yes, thank you junior sister, why don't we go in now? The 2nd senior brother asked tentatively. Okay, go in, little junior brother, come here and follow me. 5th senior sister looked at Wu Fan again and said, Wu Fan had no choice but to walk to the 5th senior sister, and then walk to the alchemy room together. As soon as he entered the alchemy room, the first thing he saw was a huge alchemy furnace, which could be as big as 1 foot. Master Wu Fan was sitting cross-legged next to the alchemy furnace. When Wu Fan and others entered the room, their master opened his eyes. Then he looked at them and said at the same time, have you made enough trouble? If you have made enough trouble, go over there and sit down. That the 5th senior sister stuck out her tongue and hurriedly walked back. At the same time, she pulled Wu Fan's sleeves to ask him to follow. The 2nd senior brother also immediately rolled back. After Wu Fan thought for a while, he bowed deeply to his master and said master before following the two of them. Ju Ming, are your 3rd junior brother and 4th junior sister still in retreat? Master looked at the 2nd senior brother and asked. Yes, master, the 3rd junior brother seems to be refining alchemy, and the 4th junior sister has been practicing, and should be able to break through the 11th level of qi refining at any time. The 2nd senior brother replied in a loud voice. Okay, then you 3 will watch me make elixirs, Master Li Ning said, and began to take out wooden boxes one by one from the storage bag, and opened the wooden boxes at the same time, revealing a bunch of elixirs. And then saw his hands making secrets, and moving a little to the ground below the alchemy furnace. I saw a round black iron cover under the alchemy furnace, suddenly moved to one side, and exposed a hole, and just when the cover was removed in an instant, a pillar of fire came out of the hole and went straight to the bottom of the alchemy furnace to burn away. Then they saw their master kneading the formula with one hand and moving the lid of the alchemy furnace a little, and the lid also burst out in response. He opened it, and then he threw an elixir into the alchemy furnace every once in a while, until all the elixirs were put into the alchemy furnace, and he closed the lid of the alchemy furnace again. For the next time, their master kept watching intently. From time to time, he would cast 2 spells into the alchemy furnace. 3 hours later, he finally stopped casting spells and opened the lid of the alchemy furnace. With a wave of one hand, he suddenly burst out of the alchemy furnace. 7 thumb-sized elixirs flew out, and a strong elixir fragrance could be smelt. During these 3 hours, Wu Fan had been watching his master refining alchemy with concentration. He had also read the alchemy tips given by his master for several months, and also knew some steps and precautions for refining alchemy. But now that he saw his master refining elixir by himself, I feel that I have benefited a lot. Wu Fan didn't expect that there was earthline fire underneath the master's alchemy room. No wonder the master would build the house here. With the help of the earthline fire, it would be much easier to refine the elixir. Wu Fan has been to the 2nd senior brother's alchemy room. There is no earth vein fire in his alchemy room, but the 2nd senior brother uses a fire gathering array. This fire-gathering array is just a small formation. It is not necessary to maintain the operation of the formation. How many spiritual stones? Therefore, this formation is very convenient, but some alchemy apprentices are short of money, so they can only use the fireball technique to refine elixirs. However, refining elixirs like this consumes a lot of energy and mana, and they often finish refining a furnace of elixirs. He would be half dead from exhaustion if he took medicine, but Wu Fan didn't care about these. He had a better flame than the fire of earth veins, which was Tianluo Jihua, and Tianluo Jihua was the flame refined by him, so it was being able to control Rui better. He will also get twice the result with half the effort when refining elixirs. When refining pills, the interval between each time of putting spiritual medicine into the pill furnace is also very particular. It is not possible to throw it in casually. There is a lot of knowledge here. It is not good to put it in too early or too late. The order of each spiritual medicine cannot be messed up. Therefore, each kind of pill has a pill formula. These pill formulas are slowly explored and improved by predecessors after thousands of years. If a spiritual medicine in the pill formula is extinct in the world of cultivation, the alchemist will look for a replacement spiritual medicine. Only after hundreds or thousands of times of exploration and improvement, it may be successful. Therefore, the pill formula is very precious. Often, the alchemist will even go bankrupt to obtain a precious pill formula. Only some major sects or families of cultivation can rely on their heritage and thousands of years of accumulation to accumulate a lot of pill formulas and slowly pass them down. There are also some things that need to be paid attention to in alchemy, such as controlling the size of the flame and the use of alchemy formulas. These are all tests of an alchemist's experience and proficiency in alchemy. Therefore, it is not easy to become an alchemist. Take the spiritual medicines wasted in the early stage of learning alchemy, for example. That is a large amount of spiritual stones. Only some major sects can train alchemists. At this time, their master took the 7 pills and looked at them carefully. Then he said, "Alas, this furnace only refines 7 pills, and they are such ordinary pulse protection pills. What a pity." After that, he did not rest and started to refine the second furnace of pills directly.